All right, y'all. So what's happening in Gaza is heartbreaking. What's happening in Gaza is heartbreaking. You have children literally eating dirt. This little boy literally grabbed a handful of dirt and put it in his mouth, chewed it, and swallowed it. So there's reports that there's famine in Gaza, although Israel is denying it. They're saying that's not true. But there's multiple other sources who are saying that they're already at that point of famine. You have doctors, American doctors, who traveled to Gaza to help, and they say that this is essentially one of the worst hunger crises that they've ever seen in their life. This doctor in particular said this is the worst thing that she's ever seen. She's never seen anything like this in her life. You have another doctor who traveled out there who described out of this world pain and suffering in Gaza to the extent, like I said, that he's never seen before in his life. And then you also have a report that just came out, which was confirmed, that Israel bombed a Catholic church just a few days ago. Now, obviously, this is stemming from what took place on October 7th, but this has been brewing up in that region much longer than October 7th. It's been brewing up much longer than that. But on October 7th, 1,200 people were killed by Hamas, mainly civilians of Israel. Hamas took 251 hostages, and 20 of those hostages are still believed to be alive and being held inside of Gaza. Israel is not allowing reporters to report freely. They've killed 200 reporters. They're not allowing reporters to do their job and report freely. And it's led to the point where you see Israel, primarily Netanyahu, and his former defense minister, according to BBC, are subject to arrest warrants for war crimes issued by the International Crime Court. And they say that they're innocent. And recently, Trump, who has been an ally, some people say allies, some people say he's bought and paid for by Israel, depending on who you follow. He even is saying like, yo, what's happening and what we've seen is getting out of hand. This video right here, man, I watched this last night. Since then, I haven't been able to stop thinking about this video. This little boy, he went to go pick up some flour. His intention was just to eat the raw flour. But in the process of him getting the flour, he was robbed by another man. And he was so hungry. He was so hungry, like I said, that he literally grabbed a handful of dirt and ate the dirt. Let me play the clip.
يعطيكم العافية. احنا عندنا في غزة في شطحين، احنا 24 ساعة كل يوم بيقولوا لنا في مقاطير واحنا بنروح ما بنلاقيش المقاطير، احنا الرمل هذا بناكله فيش اكل عندنا، بدنا طعيم فيش اكل، حرام عليكم ارحموا، فيش اكل عندنا، الرمل بناكله بدل الخبز، حرام عليكم ارحموا، الرمل بناكله بدل رغيف الخبز، رغيف الخبز ريال 21 زيت الرغيف القدة.
Mohammed walked 8 hours with his father to a flour distribution point in Gaza City. He finally collected 2 kilos of flour, but thieves attacked him and stole it.
أنا شفت الصحفي بيصور في الناس، فأنا طلبت منه أوجه رسالتي للناس إن أنا انسرق مني الطحين وأكلت رمل غصبا عني لأنه فيش عندنا طحين. وش طحين انقهرت وأنا عشان هيك صيحت وأكلت الرمل.
Mohammed's mother says she uses old dried bread used for animal feed, soaks it with water and bakes it over and over to feed her children.
بنفتل بعض الجوع كافر هذا بقتل الثاني عشان كيس طحين وعشان كيلو كيس طحين 5 6 بيهجموا عليه الجوع كافر بدهم ياكلوا الناس يعني توحشوا الناس وحوش صارت من قلة الطحين والمعيشة.
Mohammed and his family, only two of tens of thousands of starved Palestinians risking their lives to feed their families.
So this is one of the American doctors that traveled to assist, and listen to what she have to say. I don't know why I can't talk today. Listen to what she has to say in regard to this situation.
Never seen anything like, I have never seen anything like what I've seen here in Gaza. I have seen so much malnutrition here. I've seen it in the pregnancies that we see. I've seen it in the babies that come out. I've seen it walking through the emergency room with the kids and the men and women. So I see it everywhere. I see it in the staff who every day talk about how hungry they are. Malnutrition and stress can lead to pregnancy complications. The stress of living under siege, the stress of malnutrition, the stress of the bombings, the stress of all the trauma that's going around affects a pregnancy. I have never seen.
I don't know. I'm just confused from the standpoint of I keep hearing about how sophisticated Israel's military and their intelligence and their operations, and I keep hearing about the level of sophistication that they have. But yet you have what some believe, depending on the reports that you follow. I've seen different reports. I saw this report that came out. I was trying to see if I could find some additional sources to actually give validity to the claim that he's making. But I mean, he's saying that hundreds of thousands of people, like 400,000 people, I believe. What was it? 377,000 people in Gaza have disappeared. And half of that number is believed to be children. So that was from a report or a study that Harvard did. Like I said, I'm trying to figure out if this is actually legitimate or not. But if that's true, that is absolutely insane. And like I said, from Israel's standpoint, this level of sophistication that I keep hearing about that they claim to have, how are they so sloppy in killing tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of children? How is this happening? Or is this intentional? Because that's what it seems like. Now, CNN gives a different depiction of this. CNN says that the number is closer to about 70,000. So they're saying the number is closer to about 70,000 traumatic injury deaths. And they're saying that another 109,000 have been injured.
On the strike and the political fallout from the White House.
New details are emerging about the congregation of Gaza's only Catholic church that was targeted on Thursday by Israel. More than 600, mostly women and children, were sheltering there. We now know at least 3 people have died and at least 10 have been injured. We also are now aware that the Pope had been contacting members of the congregation on a nightly basis to check on the well-being of those sheltering there. Asked about the incident, Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, said the president was not happy when he heard about what had happened.
It was not a positive reaction. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning to address the strikes on that church in Gaza, and I understand the Prime Minister agreed to put out a statement. It was a mistake by the Israelis to hit that Catholic church. That's what the Prime Minister relayed to the President, and you should look at the Prime Minister's statement that when he comes out.
Still, this is not an isolated incident. In fact, the Israeli military has targeted at least a half dozen churches in Gaza since just October 7th of 2023 using precision-guided munitions. Still, the Israeli military maintains this latest attack was purely accidental. Kimberly Helkin, Al Jazeera, the White House.
As you heard there, Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu issued a statement on the attack after speaking with Donald Trump. Hamda Salhout has more from Jordan's capital, Amman. She's there because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting inside Israel and the occupied West Bank.
A brief statement from the Israeli Prime Minister after pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump for him to address the situation at hand. Netanyahu's office releasing a statement that says, quote, Israel deeply regrets that stray ammunition hit Gaza's Holy Family Church. Every innocent life lost is a tragedy. We share the grief of the families and the faithful. We are grateful to Pope Leo for his words of comfort. Israel is investigating the incident and remains committed to protecting civilians and holy sites. Now, this is not that much different from the statement that was issued by the Foreign Ministry, after the attack had taken place, saying that Israel never targets holy sites in Gaza. However, over the last 21 months, Israel has repeatedly targeted churches and mosques across the Palestinian territory, killing thousands of Palestinians as a result. But whenever there is pressure on the Israelis, whenever there's international pressure on Netanyahu specifically, that's when the Israelis release some sort of statement about wrongdoing. Just last week, when there were at least 10 Palestinians, mostly children, who were killed waiting in a queue at a water distribution site, after the international outcry, that's when the Israelis said that there was a malfunction with their munition. And what Netanyahu is saying here is he didn't really admit that it was a mistake, saying that Israel expressed his sorrow and is investigating the situation, saying that it was stray ammunition. But it's a little bit hard to believe any sort of Israeli investigation that happens after 21 months of war, because the military oftentimes absolves itself of any sort of wrongdoing. There is no one held accountable, and there are thousands of Palestinians who've been killed as a result.
It's also hard to believe when they killed 200 journalists. What exactly is Israel doing? That's my question. That's my question. I understand there are still hostages being held in Gaza. I understand that. I get that. And they're trying to reach those individuals to hopefully safely bring them home. I get that. But this many civilians, this much devastation, this much destruction, repeatedly, irresponsibly, in this manner, is insane. It is insane. It's insane. Let me know what y'all think. Get in my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.